Now I still have a lot of wiring to go. The wiring that's coming down the column here has to go mostly to the back of the car for indicators, trafficators, interior lights, stop lights, tail lights, whole range of things. There are also a couple of wires that will go to the front for the indicators that I'm putting on. So I've just been making up the loom. This is the wire. There are 10 wires going to the back. I've got the wires hopefully cut to the right length. It'll go inside the chassis most of the way. Now originally it would have gone all the way in the chassis to the rear and coming out where the bumper bar mount is, and inside the chassis they had a couple of junction boxes. Now I'm not going to do that, so I'm running a cable to through the chassis up until it coincides with the rear shock absorber, and I'll come out of the chassis and then up inside the car. Now, so I'm not going to put the junction under the floor. What I'm going to do is put some modern junction boxes inside the boot, so it's up out of the weather. So this main cable that I've been making up, this will basically go from these points here, these connectors, to the junction box, and then from the junction box I'll make a smaller cable that'll go to the rear lights, indicators and trafficators. I may actually use the original interior cable that goes to the dome light and the trafficators. I'll just have to check to see the condition of those wires. At this stage, and so I've just been making up the cable. I'll put it in a casing. This is a fairly simple casing, just to stop it from getting damaged. So I'll do that. Now there is a section where it comes out of that loom. So a little bit down under the floor here, there's the stop lights, which I've got to run power to the switch, and then the cable from the switch to the stop light. So that's the only break point in the loom. So anyway, that's as soon as I put this in its plastic casing, I'll run the loom and then try and position the junction boxes in the boot area. Now I covered all of those wires with this plastic cover. It's a bit of a cow to put on. It's got a split in it, but after a while the arthritis in the thumb started to play up, so it took quite a while to actually feed the wires through it. I think part of the problem is that I've got a lot of wires and it fills up the tube completely, so it made it a bit harder. Anyway, it's done. I've now put the tube, or sorry, not the tube, the loom inside the chassis here. It goes along inside, as I said. There's the two wires that come out in here that go into the brake switch. I've connected those. I've connected all of the wires to the loom coming down the steering column, so they're all connected. I'm not sure what I'll do with these, whether I'll leave those there or tie them to one side. At the moment I'll leave them there till I've got all the wiring connected up and everything checked. They're all quite accessible there, so I'll just leave that for the time being. These two wires, they go, that one goes the left hand side indicator, and this goes to the right hand side indicator. So I've got to run those across the front. Now whether I need a loom with other wires, I'm not sure yet. There probably will be wires coming across from the other side to this side from my relay box, so I'll probably include this left hand indicator in that loom. So I've got to do that yet. That's for another day. As I say, I've got it right through the car. I'll just show you where it comes out of the chassis. I ran the loom through the chassis up until this point where it comes out, comes up, as I say, next to the shock absorber, across the floor, and it goes in through the back panel there. Now the seat doesn't actually touch this in this area, and I'm able to put the floor back into place, so that fits okay as well. Now I haven't worked out where I'm going to mount the junction boxes. Probably might use both of those. Maybe on the rear board in the boot that's behind the seat here. It needs to be in a place where I can actually access it, so I'll have to look at that later. I'm not going to do that just yet. The main thing was to run the cable from the front to the back of the car. Now that's done. Just a little bit more work I've got to do on the bottom end of that board there. It's not fitting down properly, but I'll just fix that up, and then that's complete. Now, as I said, I was going to put the junction box in the boot, which I've done. 2 boxes, basically split into indicators and semaphores on the top, tail lights and stop lights and so on the bottom. It's taken ages to get it all wired up, hours in fact, but it should be fine. Just a little bit to tidy up on there. I've run from the junction box down here to a set of detachable plugs there for the rear tail gate, or the tyre door, for want of a word. This cable here comes from the tyre door. I haven't connected that up yet. It's just a case of pushing in the lugs. The tyre door is on. Very hard to get a picture here because I'm right at the back of the garage. There's not much room to work, but that's all on. I've re-chromed the tail light covers. They're all done, and I've also, not that you can see in the light, these I've sprayed inside with the appropriate tail light spray, red, so that should work well. Inside the lights I've put LED lights, so they should be bright enough. So that's all done. The indicators will mount on the bumper bar when I put the bumper bar on. That's been chromed. I was just waiting till I got the door on and the wiring in. The wires for the actual indicators, they'll be mounted off the bumper bar. That's them going down in through there, and similar on the other side. So that's all done. Got the wiring in for the fuel tank sender. That comes down through there and under the flap. Interior lights wired up, so everything's wired. I guess I'm almost ready to put the boot floor in. once I just tidy a few things up, and then I'll put the boot lid on. So that's all ready to go on. I just haven't put it on because I've been working in here. So that's how it's going so far. Now, just while I'm working on the rear end, I thought I'd actually complete the boot area. Bit of light on this side. I'll put a corner section in there. Now, there was originally something in there, although what I had left was very little. So I've cut a board in there to shape that. It mounts onto the bracket here, same bracket that this mounts onto. This is the floor. I haven't painted that yet. I'm not sure whether I'll paint it. It'll be covered in carpet anyway, but I'll reserve the decision to do that. The board on the other side's done. Now I can't fix this in yet because this actually screws to the part of the boot. There's a flap, steel flap that comes across here. This mounts onto that flap, so I need to take this out, which I'll do in a second. It's just sitting in there. Take that out and then start to put the mounting brackets on for the boot. They screw on the side here. So I'll start that and try and get that in place. Actually, I need to put another. There's a bracket up here that I've got to put in. I need to find that. I'm sure I've seen that lying around somewhere. That screws to the wood there, and also the piece for the boot lock goes into there. So I need to find that first. I'm about to position the boot lid, which has got quite a few pieces to make up the hinges. You've got these brackets on the side, which has a hole in here where the actual boot hinge fits into. So you've got to mount these on, but to get it on, you actually can only put one on first, hence I haven't put this one on yet. Then I've just mounted, it's a bit hard to see in the light, I've just mounted the hinge itself onto the boot lid. Now it's a one-piece hinge. It's got the metal side here, the bar across the boot lid itself. Might be able to see the hinge a bit better there. That's the hinge. I've just screwed that on with stainless steel screws. Here's the actual piece that goes into the mounting on the boot frame. Now what I've got to do is to actually slide one end in and with the other end I've actually got to use the hinge, or sorry, the mounting for the other side. I've actually got to fit it onto the bar, then feed that into the opening, and then hopefully screw this other mounting plate on to the inside. So it takes about 4 hands and 3 people. So I'll do my best with one, but it's a bit fiddly, and always got to be careful. You're going to drop something and, of course, at this stage damage the paint. Now that's what I'm about to do, about to try and feed that up to the mounting position. This plate here, this actually on the back end there, whether you can see that, there's a round groove that just slides straight onto the bar. So when I've got this in position, I'll then push that to cover the bar there, and then got a lip there which the floor is mounted to, so that's the last piece I put on. But at this stage I've got to try and feed this into the opening. And as I say, while I'm holding the boot lid, slide it into the mounting point on that side, and then with the other bracket, which I'll be holding on the end of the boot, then push it in to position and then slide some screws in to hold it. So hopefully that will work without damaging anything. So I'll probably, well actually not probably, I will put a blanket over the door here, so in case I drop it and damage things. So that's what I'm about to do. Now it's a bit hard to see in this video the actual boot lid because of the reflection in the paint. So all this stuff is the reflection. Look, I got it on. The only problem, I mean everything fits, it's all good around the gaps, everything's in alignment. The only problem is that when you pull the boot out, I'll try and get down to the corner, which is here, this section goes in as you pull the top of the boot lid out. Now the problem I've got is that when I fitted this originally, it didn't have paint. It now has paint, and the paint is just touching the inside. Just open this up. Down in, and I'll try and get the camera right. Down in this section here, it's hitting on the side of the mounting bracket for the floor. Now, not by much. I'll probably get 1/16 of an inch more clearance to make sure there's no scrubbing of the edge of the door. So having got it all on and manhandling it, I now actually have to take it off and just space the bracket back, as I say, 1/6 of an inch on either side. Now I can do that, but once again I've got to take it all off. So I'll do that next, put the spacer in, and then that should fit. As I say, as long as I don't pull it back, everything fits nicely. It doesn't foul anywhere else. The gap is as I originally set it, but I need to fix that. So I did manage to actually chip a little bit of the paint off right on the bottom, on the edge, which I can just touch up with a brush, but I don't want to pull it right out in case it really causes more damage. So anyway, the boot lid's got to come off, and I'll put those spacers in and then put it back on. Alright, the boot lid is on. I'll put the flap there, which as I said before, it fits over the actual bar that provides the hinge, and you screw the floor to that. So that's in. I haven't put the lock in yet. I've just got to find that, along with the key that I've the key lock, which I've got around somewhere. So it now is mounted on. It closes, as long as I don't get my finger stuck in that. Everything fits. Doesn't foul anything on the tyre door, which is good. The gaps are good. I haven't put the seal in yet. I've got to do that. I'll probably find the lock first. The chrome finishing piece is on. That came up nicely. So anyway, it's another piece off the floor and onto the car. So that's the main thing. That's better on there, and it's less likely to get damaged.